In all fairness, what color am I wearing? Test your intuition. All right, you guys. OMG. New details. I'm telling you, somebody made a very bad mistake and it got caught in the actual evidence pictures. Lindsay Clancy dropped my jaw to the floor when I saw this. I was like, OMG, I had suspicions before. You will not convince me Lindsay Clancy, I'm all like, I gotta get it out. That Lindsay Clancy was alone, and I can't wait to show it to you. We're gonna get into it right away. Hello, everybody. Welcome into our live broadcast. Remember, we don't edit here. We're just live. We have a live audience. We also have an amazing replay crew. And I haven't put any treats out lately, so I'm gonna do that real quick for you. Put some treats in the replay lounge. Are you ready to get into this, you guys? Let's say hello to a few people. Nina's here, Kathy, Carla Burgeon, you guessed purple. Good deal. Hi, Jennifer Swain. Jennyville guessed purple. So people were saying, what am I wearing? Purple. Hi, Wayne. Good to see you. Great that you made a live mystery. Diva, good to see you. Okay, you guys. We have to just jump in with both feet, okay? So new details. Let me fix that real quick, just so that it's a little easier for us to see everything. In a momento. Okay. I got to show this to you because I was like, what? So the first thing I saw was this. Let's listen to her explain the first thing and I was like, what? So I dug deep and got it all.
I just watched a woman named Millie explain exactly what happened, and I need you guys to go watch the video that she has on her TikTok. She plays it out with Bratz dolls. Patrick made a mistake, and she pointed it out, and there is literally no denying it. Blood splatter does not lie. And I need you guys to send that video to whoever you need to send it to because the defense needs to see it. Lindsay was unconscious. And there weren't even any footprints anywhere, guys. Come on. How the hell investigators and blood analysis experts missed this, I have no freaking clue. He moved the bedside table back over the blood drips, guys. He moved it back.
Yep.
She reenacts the whole thing, explaining every single blood drop.
Yep.
Lindsay is innocent. And I'm not changing my mind.
And I'm not changing mine either. What she said, I was like, he moved the bedside table. I've got to look into this. Who's this person that reenacted the crime with brat dolls? And how would that matter? Oh my golly. You're going to have to pay very close attention. So if you go into other cases, you may have the knowledge of what satellite blood drops are. Satellite blood drops. How many of you remember that from the Nancy Guthrie case? Satellite blood drops. Carly guessed purple first. Yep. And then Jennyville. Hey, Mystery Diva, the brat doll reenactment. Yeah, that's what we're talking about today. OMG. And then after this, tomorrow, I'm going to break out something that's going to have you sitting on the floor. Because adding the two together, it's like two parts, okay? And they both go together like a perfect puzzle. And I'm like, what? And there's actually three parts. But you just watch over the next few days. We're going to go boom, boom, boom. Because the table got moved after the blood was already there. Mind you, Lindsay cut her arms. Right? There's blood all over her hands. Look at the knife. It's completely covered. Her hands would be dripping with blood. If she moved a table after, and the table's on top of the blood, I'll show you guys. If she moved the table afterwards, there would be her fingerprints or her handprints. Bloody handprints. You know what I'm saying, right? So, when somebody touches something that's got blood on it, it leaves a handprint of some sort. No. There's none on this nightside table. And keep in mind, this is the blood. The table's on top of satellite blood drops. So what are satellite blood drops? They're blood drops that came straight down from someone in a resting position. And so that means it's dripping. And as it hits, it equally splatters out a little bit from its ring. But when you look at it, they're round drops. Oh my God. So the table wasn't there. So Lindsay's standing in one spot or resting in one place and the blood is dropping. And after that, the table gets moved and placed on top of those. Watch. I'm like choked up over this because it's huge. It proves that there is someone else in the room with Lindsay, in my humble opinion. All right, so let's get over it. Let's just look at the picture. Are you seeing this? Look at this. These are not drops where they've leaked from somewhere else. They're independent. They are satellite blood drops. And do you see this table? It's been moved on top. Now, I will say, some people are going to be like, well, could it have run down the table leg? There's no blood on the leg. Okay, it just got moved and placed on top of it. Mystery Diva says Lindsay is right-handed. Patrick is left-handed. Allegedly, in your opinion, he cut her and her left hand and pushed the bed up to the window and pushed her out. Unalive the kids and framed. Okay, yeah, that's where we're headed. All right, so I had to look up the Brat doll reenactment for myself, and I'm going to share it with you now. This floored me. And at first I was like, okay, so she got a cardboard box and the Brat dolls. And then I started looking at it. She has matched the crime scene down to a T. She is going to explain what she believes may have happened. And everything in the evidence backs up what this person suggests in their theory. This is the most interesting thing I have seen in a while. And in what I'm about to share with you tomorrow, you're going to start seeing the Lindsay Clancy case in a whole, true, serious new light, in my opinion. All right, you guys, let's get in. Are you ready for this? So you've got Nikki, a private eyes got confused time said in an hour. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it was off. Yeah, Mystery says this reenactment is amazing. All right, so get comfortable. This gets complicated. We'll pause it a couple times for fair use restriction. This is all in fair use. Okay. But this is just shocking to me. Let's get over. So the channel's name is The Investigating Room.
I'm a forensic file.
Okay. Hold on. Started from the beginning.
Patrick Clancy. On today's episode of The Women of the World v. Patrick Clancy, I'm going to prove that Lindsay Clancy's bedroom was staged using Bratz dolls and a shoebox reconstruction of the crime scene, because I noticed something that absolutely nobody else has noticed, not even the blood experts. And if they did notice, they strategically omitted it from their testimony because it proves that Lindsay Clancy is innocent.
And after you watch this, you're going to have to take a step back and really think this through, because she walks the walk all the way through. And it makes complete sense. And I agree with her in the fact that the blood experts missed this. Keep in mind, there was no thorough investigation of other people. They had already charged Lindsay while she wasn't even conscious in the hospital. So it was like a cut and dry kind of case at that point that she had done this and then jumped out the window. Now, why on earth would there not be a chance of an intruder? You know, it just, I don't know. But watch this. Okay, let her get into
My
it.
only credentials are that my brain works like this guy's.
This is my design.
Hold on, let me see what it's called. I think it's the investigating room. Let it play for a minute and it should show on the bottom of the screen. I saw it somewhere.
And I'm a forensic file.
Okay. Oh, I hope I got it right. I don't know where her name is.
On today's episode of The Women of the World v. Patrick.
Okay, let me look. Maybe.
And I'm a
I
forensic.
may have the channel name wrong. I thought it was that, but maybe it's not. Karen Griswold is asking, should we call Ed Wallace from Duty Ron about the blood? What? Like, what? I don't even know what that means. Please play the tape and stop talking, ma'am. Okay. Wow.
forensic file.
Some people are so damn rude.
Patrick Clancy. On today's episode of The Women of the World v. Patrick Clancy, I'm going to prove that Lindsay Clancy's bedroom was staged using Bratz dolls and a shoebox reconstruction of the crime scene, because I noticed something that absolutely nobody else has noticed, not even the blood experts. And if they did notice, they strategically omitted it from their testimony because it proves that Lindsay Clancy is innocent. My only credentials are that my brain works like this guy's.
This is my design.
If you know, you know. And I'm a forensic files enthusiast, back to back. Everyone needs to see this, and the only way that I know how to explain it is by showing you. That's why I made the reconstruction. Please stay with me and watch this, because I'm going to be reenacting the scene the way that I see it when I look at the crime scene. This is your trigger warning. If you're sensitive to domestic violence and blood and graphic detail, do not watch this video. I've managed to semi-accurately dress Lindsay in a black tank top and jeans, but unfortunately my male Bratz doll didn't come with a weaker jawline, and he doesn't have accurate clothing to what Patrick was wearing other than the first pair of shoes.
Excuse
me for that.
That she said first pair of shoes.
This is the doorway. This is the navy shelves. This represents the mirror. Blood spot A. This represents the pillow next to the mirror, the pillowcase next to the mirror. I've just drawn some blue on the floor. Lindsay's slippers, the green tub, assorted linens I've just depicted using just a pencil here just for reference. Blood spot B, blood spot C, and our drawers along with our knife.
Wow.
I've roughly indicated where the cups were. And
she has
spray
done
bottles
her homework.
on the bedside table there. Then we have our Lindsay, the phone on the bed. Excuse the old vintage phone, wasn't really a thing back when Bratz dolls were made. I saw the theory that Lindsay had the window shut on her neck, but unfortunately I have a more plausible explanation as to what's happened to Lindsay and why her thyroid was crushed, so let's get into it. I've also made sure I can move the bed because it's vitally important, and what kicked this off for me is what I saw when I saw the blood and the bed. Okay, from the top, here's our Lindsay. Our Lindsay is sleeping. I think that
I'm gonna mute.
the Benadryl
I have a
in the
delivery.
cup full of lemonade wasn't a suicide attempt, it was a sleep aid. Our Lindsay was sleeping, and she was probably sleeping a long time before this kicked off. What I'm alleging has happened is Lindsay has been rendered unconscious, and that is what has caused her thyroid injury. The safest thing to do was to turn off the Apple Watch to make sure it wasn't tracking any of her movement, because any movement from her part or lack thereof was going to be suspicious. He took the Apple Watch downstairs with him to the basement, turned it back on, and then used it to send himself a work email so that it would be reasonably explained that he had nothing to do with her Apple Watch activity. Then I'm alleging that he dragged her unconscious body to the edge of the bed and sat her facing the mirror. because he needed to see what he was doing. His plan was to be able to hold her upright and make every single wound look self-inflicted. When he cut her wrist and caused blood spot A, he realised that it's going to be impossible to keep her limp body upright and keep blood off himself, especially if she started to stir from deep pain stimulus in that wrist. So what does he do? He panics. Our Lindsay is still bleeding off the edge of the bed because her hand has been positioned there. She's unconscious, and he moves the bed, which then causes the blood to travel. Excuse the length ratio here, it's not perfectly to scale, but it explains the blood trail from blood spot A over here without any touching on the bed. Next, what does he do? He gets back on the bed, positions our Lindsay back upright. He knows he still can't get any blood on the bed, but he has to make it look like she's up and standing and moving around voluntarily, right? He struggles to fling her unconscious body, which may or may not have caused the only spatter transfer in the bedroom on the mirror. He then maneuvers her body this way, creating this blood trail up here, and then positions her on the bed, creating blood spot B. After he panicked and dragged the bed, I think that's when the blood spots happened by the door, and that's also when he pressed the push lock with bloody gloves to make sure the kids couldn't come up and interrupt him. So we've left a trail up to blood spot B. I'm alleging that Lindsay's already bleeding wrist is limp and hanging downwards, and nothing but gravity is causing these passive blood droplets on the floor. So from here, he realizes it's going to be challenging to grab the knife and return it to this side table, which would be his workstation. So what does he do? He moves it. It's possible that during that process, he actually dropped the knife because there was a spatter pattern and some small impact around this little puddle. But I'm not sure the chronology of events. But now he's got access to that bedside, he can reach it, and he can work on this other wrist. He then cuts her right wrist, which creates blood spot C. And again, she's limp. Her arms are positioned. Forgive the Bratz dolls again. They're not going to be exact. But her arms are limp over the bed. That's why he moved the bed, so that he can wedge her and press her up against it. Make sure she stays asleep and make sure she stays still so no blood gets on the bed, meaning no blood gets on him.
Okay. I've been muted the whole time. Dang. You'd think after a few years, yeah. Thank you, Jennifer Swain. Thank you, Jennyville. So I'll just say this and then we're going to get right back into it. I'm so sorry. No sound. Thank you, Lone Multi. Good to see you. Thank you, Kathy. I know I was muted. All right. So somebody is going to type it in the replay, and then all they had to do was jump ahead a minute rather than type all that. Thank you. All right, so what I was saying is this. This explains what she's about to show you is how all the transfer blood would have been happening in the room that matches the evidentiary photos, the ensuite photos, meaning the first photos before anybody gets in there and does anything. And you can see the transfer blood on the window, on the curtain, and certain places. What she's going to show you, these places, is also matching if the bed was used to get Lindsay out the window. OMG. Let's keep going. Now, the last thing she does is show you, after Lindsay leaves the window, she's going to show you something that I was like, OMG. That's exactly how I feel it had to have happened. But I want your opinion too. So with that being said, let's jump back over. And sorry for being muted, you guys. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that.
I'm not sure if he moved the curtain before or after he moved the side table, but this transfer pattern I think is from him with his gloved up hands moving the curtain to the side.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if he did that when he moved the side table or did that just before he put her through the window. It could have been either or, but it's to make room. Same with this curtain here. I'm alleging it was moved out of the way because there's still blood droplets at the base of where the curtains were, but none on the actual curtain.
Love you, Four Huskies
So I'm thinking
Homestead.
they were out of the way. I think he brought her chest up and then he cut her neck. But because he didn't have the mirror to see, he wasn't sure if he cut the carotid artery. That's why it was superficial, but yet still bleeding. Maybe not as actively as the rest, but it's because he can't see. Now he has to get her through the window. So I'm thinking her right wrist went first, and that's what started the transfer pattern here on the exterior of the window, next to that odd orange
Now I
silicone,
believe that.
whatever it was on the exterior. And from the inside, while he's trying to do that, this wrist is now bleeding more freely in this direction.
Yeah.
And he brings her arm over, again being mindful not to get blood on himself. And that's where we see this transfer pattern on the interior of the window. So once her arms are out,
Look at that.
pushes her forward, and she's on by her hips. The
She's
reason I
hung
subscribe
by
to
her
the
hips
idea
right
that
there.
He slammed her neck in the window is because he needed her unconscious well before that. But
Good
also,
point.
there's no real blood on the center of that window, only transfer on the outside
Yeah.
and on the inside, on opposite sides. So he has her out by her hips. And it's at least a few seconds that she's dangling unconscious here, which is where our exterior blood patterns come from. The prosecution reckons that there was blood in between here, but I disagree. I don't think it looks like blood at all. I think it just looks like general stains on the exterior of the house that have nothing to do with it, and she never tested it, so I'm just ignoring it. So that's not there. Just these two marks that were obviously from her wrist.
Head first.
And then down here on the ledge of the window, where it was obviously from her hands on the way down. And then he drops her.
Head
And
first.
there she is outside on the snow, well in advance of any of this being put into motion. And there he is. He's finished with Lindsay, and now he has to set the rest of the scene.
Okay. So everything there, I was like, okay, I could see all that happening. How about you? Everything in the position of the brat doll matched, and the evidence of the actual crime scene is being reconstructed, and it's making sense. And we know that Lindsay went head first. I said that well before that was even in the trial. So in this, just by her injuries, to me, it's obvious. But so He's now done with Lindsay, but there's things that are going to suggest that they're not normal. Things are out of place because two people were doing this, because he was moving her and so forth. So he's going to make sure that everything appears as it should, right? That's where I believe whoever this is in the room with her made the worst mistake, that is telling. All right? Lainey says, I knew she would not jump out head first on her own. Knitting Mom says, I think the nanny assisted for money, in your humble opinion. Knitting Mom says she was helped out the window and she was way too out of it. Yeah, that's what I think too. All right, let's continue now. Watch. Oh, this is so wild. This is where, okay, let me come back over. This is where it all came together for me. This is where I was like, OMG, this cinches it. So don't let go yet. Pay attention. Here we go. Let's watch the rest together.
Here's my smoking gun. The curtains
Smoking
are returned
gun.
to normal. And he starts to examine the room and try to figure out what looks unnatural. So he moves the bedside table back to where it was.
Yep.
And what does he do? He doesn't realise no blood on the curtain
Yep.
behind it, which is inconsistent with the amount of action going on the surface of that table. But the most important mistake he made is right down here.
Right here. Yep.
Because underneath that side table leg are two perfectly circular passive blood drops from when he was working on her before. And he's just moved this bedside table directly over the top of those blood stains.
Yep.
Which means the scene was staged. Because nowhere in this room, in this situation, in any of this blood, in any of this action, nowhere are Lindsay's fingerprints. If she was bleeding and doing all of this herself, her fingerprints would be on either side of this table.
Yes.
He's moved it and put it back over those blood droplets unknowingly.
Yes.
To make it look as natural as possible, as though she came over here, stood there, cut her wrists and went out the window, when that's obviously not what has happened. Based on the way Patrick Clancy told on himself on the stand, I can reasonably predict what happened with the rest of the timeline. Lindsay going out the window, going to CVS, returning home, and then going to the restaurant, then returning home again. But I want to focus on the bedroom. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I need to explain this stain. I think when Patrick got back from CVS, he realised he made a mistake, went upstairs and returned the Apple Watch to the drawer because it stopped tracking Lindsay's heart rate. He needed to put it back to make it look like she had been responsible for those movements. Then he got blood on his shoes rushing to do that, panicked, took the shoes off, took them down to the basement where he did some other deeds as well. He changed his shoes, took the boots and whatever other bloody paraphernalia he had that he needed to get rid of, likely went back through those woods to then go to the restaurant to pick up the food. If you got chills just like I did when I noticed this, please share this video. I want it to reach Kevin Riddington because this is one of the most concrete pieces of evidence for the defense that I have seen so far, other than the email, and it's been completely ignored and gone unnoticed. On today's episode of The Women of the World v. Patrick Clancy.
Are you kidding me? There is no way with Lindsay Clancy bleeding that she could have moved a white table when her hands are going to be covered in blood and not leave bloody handprints on the table, and there are none. Yet that table is moved back into place on top of satellite blood drops. Now you know why I was talking about satellite blood drops. The kind where maybe her arm was, as she was showing, resting off the edge of the bed, and it's like drop, 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 making a puddle. And then somebody takes the table and they put it over. the blood drops. I'm just saying, how is that like not Scooby-Doo provable? I say Scooby-Doo, you know what I mean? Like, and if it weren't for the TikToker, we would have got away with their kind of energy. This to me, and then what I'm going to show you, I talked a little bit about it. What I'm going to show you tomorrow is going to stun you. Now, that's not coming from a TikTok all. Like, I've done some research. I've connected some dots. And in this, I'm like, OMG. It's like the entire puzzle is coming together almost crystal clear for me. And thank God for these TikTokers and these YouTubers and these people that are private eye undercover, right? Because they're doing a fantastic job. And I mean, like, she started off with a brat doll in a cardboard box, and I was like, what am I watching? The more she went into it, the more I was just astonished that it takes nothing but a brilliant mind, a cardboard box, and some red paint and some brat dolls to actually go through the crime scene at that level. Yet, we have a trial going on where Lindsay Clancy was charged basically the day after the crime was committed. And nobody asked questions. They never even, like, did the whole, like, download of Patrick's phone. Everybody's out here just assuming because the lawyer isn't looking at it that way, because Lindsay has admitted it. Well, let me explain this. If you're willing to go so far as to say she was absolutely crazy, that she was, having postpartum, which she may have been, if you're willing to say that, then how in the world do you know if she really did it or not? Because she may be too crazy to even have pulled this shit off. You see what I'm saying? I know that sounds weird too. I don't know how to explain it. I'm just saying, just because somebody has mental issues doesn't make them a murderer. And I don't like that connotation. And people can say, well, she was hearing voices. How do we know those voices weren't real? At this point, somebody was in the room with this woman, in my belief, and moved that table. And did they help her out the window? Because why would the woman go out head first? There's so much wrong here. Just Dawn says, okay, I want to ask you guys, you really think that he's working pro bono? If he wins the case, he gets what money? Are you thinking that Big Red's going to wait until their other court cases done too? Because Lindsay doesn't got no money y'all to be paying him. So who do you think hired Big Red? Who's he working for? Isn't it unusual for the man to stand by a woman that killed his children? I'm just saying it's all off for me. I can't. And I feel like society is drunk on this idea that because somebody's crazy, then they may kill. I'm just saying, just because she's absolutely going through some mental issues, even if she says she's hearing voices, it doesn't make her a murderer. Just because somebody hears voices doesn't mean that they actually follow the commands either. I started researching something that I'm going to share with you, and it causes hallucinations. And it can cause hallucinations. It can cause all kinds of things. And what's scary is there was a very few people in the world that had access to that particular drug. And it also causes insomnia. And it fits every symptom that Lindsay Clancy was having. But because it was in its testing infancy, it wasn't available to be prescribed or given because it's in its trial form, except for a few individuals. So then we got to look at that. So I'm going to be breaking that out too. That's what I think too, Lenny. He isolated her when he started working from home. I think he was working this plan. Yeah, Karen Griswold, another good video is the ER edit. 2 nurses break down the injuries. It's awesome. So they explained that they are 2 ER nurses and that they've seen many, many, many falls in their lifetime, and never have they seen a thyroid crush. And they explained that crush has a medical affiliation to the word when you use it, meaning applied pressure for a longer period of time, stress, pressure to crush something. And in that, the only time that they had, or they explained, from what I understand, that they had seen a thyroid crush was from manual strangulation, or from strangulation. And I'm like, yeah, that's the only way I can see it too. And so when we go back and we review what this TikToker is sharing about her being incapacitated and our Lindsay being unconscious early on, it's because someone rendered her unconscious, is what we are at, kind of suggesting could have happened. Okay. Now you're free, of course, to believe however you want, but many of us are seeing this with like the table over the blood drops, and those are satellite blood drops. So that meant the table wasn't there. That means there was nothing there and the blood dropped onto the floor. So the table got moved, and that table leg got on top of those 2 big satellite drops. So if Lindsay moved it, this little white table would have had blood smear all over it, especially where she grabs the table with her hands. And mind you, with all this blood there, if she had really her rep, is she going to be picking anything up? Okay. The whole thing to me is like so clear after watching this. And I'm looking at a man that not only could have maybe got away with it, but is about to cash in, and she's about to go up the river either way, like locked up mentally in a mental institution or prison, right? And he's going to go live his best life. And it's so frustrating. Like it's so sick if it's true. Riff and Ruffer says, this is horrible. God bless her. And the kids are still alive. And the kids are still alive and soon to be killed. I don't know what you mean. The kids are no longer with us. Oh, at the time of this. Yeah. That's what we believe, is that she was first because of her body temperature. I wonder if the kids were not originally part of the plan. However, at some point, there's a bloody lock to the door. So blood had already occurred. Okay? Blood had already occurred. So Lindsay's already cut. And then the door gets blood on the doorknob. And I wonder, on the locking part, I wondered if it's possible one of the children came up the stairs and walked in on it and saw too much. Maybe 2 kids. Maybe the 3-year-old, because he took it. He was handled much worse. But it does make me wonder if the children were, oh my God, they saw. And Daddy hurt Mommy. Oh my God. Right? Daddy had a knife. Oh my God. I'm just wondering. I'm not saying that happened. But after watching this, it's got me on high alert as to there's nobody going to be able to convince me that Lindsay was alone when she did this and that she put herself out that window head first. I just don't buy it. She would have defense wounds, not necessarily from an attacker because she's barely alert or whatever. However, if she had really tried to just go out the window head first, her natural reaction uncontrollably would have braced for impact, to brace for impact. And she didn't. She did not brace at all for impact. So she wasn't conscious in my belief. And so for her not to be conscious, to come out that window not conscious, how'd she get herself out the window? I just can't. How could he do this to his wife and kids? What was he thinking? Disgusting. I don't even want to know what he was thinking, right? Court Jester 911. How long to die in the cold? John Keefe was found in the snow, 82-degree temp 2. Kevin Reddington is Jen McCabe's lawyer. Interesting. Karen Griswold says, I'm 100% convinced now. You're like me. I just can't go back. After I saw this, there's no way back for me because somebody moved the table. There's no doubt. Somebody moved the table. And then, like I said, the research I'm going to show in the next few days is going to share a lot of the bizarre symptoms that Lindsay was having just happen to match up. So we're going to get into that. And I want to say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. There's definitely more to share and a lot more to go, but I don't want to overwhelm you all at once. Make sure to go give her a lot of loves and on the TikTok because she's a brilliant girl. I wish I grabbed her channel name. Let me look again one more time. I really thought I did.
And I'm a forensic father.
I always try to grab the name, and for some reason I didn't. So just Google Brat Doll Reenactment, Lindsay Clancy, and it'll come up. But I feel bad I didn't give her a proper shout out. I will go find her channel name. I'm looking to see if at the very end it says. I wish she had put her name on the little TikTok she did so I could be like the name of the channel. So, all right, you guys, if you're continuing on with me, I will see you over there in just a jiff, and we will continue on. And if not, I will see you again soon. Love you. To the moon and back. Bye, guys.
From the dust I was born, to the dirt I shall return. When my eyes are closed, in the shadows, my enemies will think they won, but I'm here to stay. Destiny will overcome, no, I am not afraid. Like a phoenix in the night, my soul will rise. From the darkness to the light, I feel alive. I'm a fire, burning bright, I'll never die. Like a phoenix.